We're going to take you live to Kansas City now, where officials are speaking to the media after the Kansas City Chiefs parade shooting. Let's listen in live.
It should also be noted we are also working closely with our Jackson County Prosecutor's Office.
Chief, not yet.
We're going to pass this on to Chief Grundison from the Fire Department.
Good morning. I'm Fire Chief Ross Grundison. Yesterday, Kansas City units, along with our mutual aid partners, treated a total of 22 victims of the shooting incident. We had 1 fatality that was on scene, 8 critical, 7 serious, and 6 patients with minor injuries. All the critical patients were transported off the scene within 10 minutes of our point of contact with them. We transported to Children's Mercy, University Health, and St. Luke's on the Plaza. KCFD had a plan in place, and we are ready to respond to an incident like this. At the time of the shooting, we had approximately 8 personnel from KCFD and KC Medical who were assisting us in the immediate area. Some of those members were within 40 feet of where the shooting took place. These members did not run for cover, but stayed on scene to treat and triage the injured while additional KCFD units ran to their assistance. I am very grateful and proud of the service of these crews that worked this terrible incident. They gave their all yesterday, like they do every day in this city, and again, put the public's lives above their own, and we are grateful for that. I also want to say thanks to all the mutual aid partners that we worked with on this incident. Very grateful for their assistance. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
Chief, I wanted to ask you about a comment you made yesterday, because you said this is not Kansas City. And you just mentioned that this was an argument, apparently, that escalated. We had a similar situation just happened right around the corner at Crown Center less than a month ago. Last year, we set a record for homicides in this community with 182. So isn't gun violence, in fact, very much a part of what we face here in Kansas City routinely?
We do face gun violence here in Kansas City, but my note of this is not Kansas City is in we had likely 1 million people down in and around this celebration. To have the ability to have that many people in our downtown area with I don't want to minimize this event, but that's Kansas City. That is 1 million people that are able to come together for a celebration. Again, you have just a handful, or I don't have a specific number of actors in this that perpetrated the violence that played out.
Do you have arrests? Because my understanding, you can only hold these folks for so long before
Correct.
you charge them. Have you charged them yet?
We have not charged them yet. This is still under investigation. We do have 24 hours until we have to either file charges or release them. And again, we are working closely with the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office to present the most successful case for prosecution.
Is there issues with linking them to the actual shooting? Do you have enough evidence at this point to make
So some of those questions I'm not able to give a direct answer just because I want to protect the integrity of this investigation. My focus right now and what is most important to us is to make sure that everything in this case is presented for successful prosecution. So some of those questions, I'm hesitant to.
I think the answer is she's not answering yet.
Hold on a second, Mr. Mayor. It seems like we are so many hours from the shooting, and at this point, you're not announcing an arrest. I just don't understand.
We have subjects that are detained, like I said earlier. That is under investigation. We have detectives that have worked overnight and through the night that are still upstairs right now working with our Jackson County Prosecutor's Office for the furtherance of this investigation.
We
have all intentions of presenting charges.
I understand. The other thing I wanted to ask you about the individuals, were they part of a gang? Was this some kind of gang crew situation?
The relationship between the subjects involved, that's still under investigation.
You're good. Go ahead to the lady, please. You're good. Go.
Were the 3 suspects or the 3 people you currently have in custody, were they known to Kansas City police prior to this, or any federal law enforcement or other law enforcement?
That is also under investigation.
Chief, can you elaborate locations where these there was more than one location where the shootings took place, correct? Can you tell us that?
Initial reports were that there was more than one location. It really is. That's not the case. It was mostly on the west side of Union Station. I had another question.
You made it sound like you're not sure at this point how many people may have been involved. Does that mean there are potentially more shooters out in the open right now?
What that is, if I could clarify that, is that we are not closing the door and giving direct numbers on this. This is still an active investigation. We are still asking the public that if anyone witnessed the shooting directly, to still contact police. We want to make sure that anyone that was responsible for yesterday is brought to justice.
Can you elaborate? Would you tell us again the name of the victim?
Elizabeth Galvin.
And how old is she?
She's 43.
43. Okay, and what exact time did the shooting when was that reported and where exactly did that happen?
It was approximately, I believe, maybe 1:50 p.m. I'm not completely sure on exactly when the shots were fired, but it was at the conclusion of the celebration rally. Yes, sir.
Chief, can you elaborate at all on the firearms that were recovered on the scene?
Right now, I am not going to elaborate on that just yet. There were several firearms that were recovered.
Mr. Mayor, would minors have been able to legally hold on to
Just a second. What was your question?
Is the ATF helping you?
We have engaged our federal partners. Kansas City, Missouri Police Department has a great relationship with our federal partners. We have historically, and they have offered all of their assistance to whatever we need in this.
Would minors have been able to legally possess these weapons if they were legally obtained somehow? Would a minor be able to have that weapon in public?
Minors should not be in possession of weapons.
To have them in public?
We'll save that. We'll save that. Yeah, go ahead.
I was watching local news. You were talking about a high-powered weapon and
Yep.
juveniles.
Yep.
People shouldn't have. Is that something that was a high-powered weapon used in this incident?
I think the chief explained right now there's still an investigation as to the firearms. Firearms have been retrieved, and then we'll learn more about it. To the extent that I was speaking towards it, it was from listening to sounds of gunfire, both in person and certainly in connection with what I have since seen in video as well. But we'll have all that information as soon as possible. That's being investigated with the firearms.
There was a long gone.
1 second, go ahead.
I know you haven't said so, but there have been some pictures shown of like an AR or something to that effect. If there's a long weapon, wouldn't that be something that you have hundreds of police officers there? Wouldn't that be something they would potentially be able to spot before it's even used?
I think our police officers did an outstanding job yesterday. I'm not here to second guess any part of that work. I know that we will review this situation like we do any other incident to make sure that we can keep the people of Kansas City safe at future times. Yes?
A question about the victims that were hospitalized. Do we have an update on how many were discharged, specifically the 9 gunshot wound victims that were children?
We don't have the updates on the conditions of the children that were hospitalized.
Chief, were there additional shootings that happened near or around the rally?
I didn't hear you.
Were there any additional shootings that took place before or around the rally?
Yesterday it was mentioned that there was a shooting in and around 27th and Gillum, that area. And we were also asked if that had anything to do with this shooting. Right now we don't have any information that those are related, but that's under investigation.
Was there consideration of having metal detectors?
Understood.
Chief Mayor,
would you do another parade next year if the Chiefs win?
I'll just do the parade point, and then we do.
If the Chiefs win, would you hold another parade? Because I've talked to people that said they wouldn't come
Here's
back.
the thing. We have a plan for a St. Patrick's Day parade in Kansas City. We have parades all the time. I don't think they'll end. Certainly, we recognize the public safety challenges at issue that relate to them. This is why we have detectives right now who are doing important work to make sure that people who committed these offenses are brought to justice. We will learn about the types of firearms that is used, and we'll do everything that we can, both as a city and working with our state and federal partners, to see that we can help avoid these types of situations. Unfortunately, this is not the first shooting at a parade in our country or a rally. That is certainly a tragic incident for us, because we don't have experience with them. You asked the chief at the outset, is this Kansas City? Well, we've had parades like this before. We had one last year without this type of incident. We had a Kansas City Royals victory parade where we had almost no arrests in 2015. So I don't think in any way that this is Kansas City. I do think that there's a gun violence challenge in this community and many others, and there certainly is a gun violence challenge as it relates to major events. That, however, does not mean that Kansas City will stop having major events. We will do all we can to make sure people are safe, and that's why I think you're seeing so many people at KCPD and the Kansas City Fire Department doing work to address that. Thank you all so much. We're good for now.
Was there consideration of having metal?
We are hearing from officials in Missouri this morning after that Kansas City Chiefs parade shooting yesterday. We know shots were fired near the end of the parade route yesterday. We are now learning from investigators there are a total of 22 victims. 1 person was killed. 8 people are in critical condition this morning. 7 are in serious. 3 people, we understand, are in custody. Police not saying much about the identity of the shooter. Still very early on in this investigation. They also say they do not believe the motive was terrorism. Stay with us on CP24 here as we continue to keep a really close eye on this story.